Good morning. That was inspirational, thank you. I learned a lot this morning already, and I'm very proud to be here to tell you the truth. Thank you for the sunshine, although I didn't like the thunderstorm you gave me last night. It's a beautiful place. And when I first came down here to look at this piece of property, I was expecting, I don't know what, but I wasn't expecting this. I knew that the Christian Science Church had always been interested in architecture, right from the very start. And I know many of the buildings, but I hadn't known about this one in particular. And I came here, and it's a jewel. It's perfect. Like the architecture, the classical architecture that it follows, it was derived from years and centuries and millennia of work, of patterning and understanding. And out of this came this wonderful piece, and it itself was inspirational. If I'd spoken to you out there on the grass earlier, I would have told you that, in fact, that's the spot to think about this project's design, because this site is where that design came from. This building proposed couldn't be on any other block, in any other city. It's designed around where you're sitting. This church, space on the side, the bridge leading across into it, and providing an entranceway, a gateway into the town of West Palm Beach. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about it, although I will be very short because, as you know, most of you have heard about this or seen it or been presented pieces of it before. You've already heard enough about me. I would only say here that one of the proudest projects I ever worked on was I was quite young to do the new plan for the mall for the bicentennial. And that essentially is a landscape and a preservation project. And it has tremendous impact on people all the time. And one of the things that I'm proudest of is when people see it and say, oh, this Capitol reflecting pool is beautiful, or this Constitution Gardens is wonderful. They have no idea that it hasn't been there always. And what we would like to do here is to preserve the origination of this site on this property, preserve the space, and step back from it so that the air around this can be the design, and the composition of the two, the taller tower leading down, making a marker for the entrance into the city, and then doing honor to this building that you're in here now. The plan is to come across the bridge, Lake Park Bridge, and as you come across, it's the entry into West Palm Beach, you proceed on Lakeview, which is happily going in the right direction, and Okeechobee back the other way. But as you come across the bridge, which is at a slight angle, you see the tower. The lighthouse is the real image of it, stepping back and away from the ground and the building here below it. The idea is to be appropriate, be special, because we are at the entry to the city, and a marker for that seems to be right, but to also play homage to the church and the preservation and the space. The ground plan itself is reminiscent of Washington, in fact, because the idea of having a pool, a linear pool, coming up to, within a garden, coming up to a focus point, or lighthouse, thin and tall and elegant, back beyond the foreground, is a traditional one, and I think fits well with the classic architecture that Abel and his partner, Trumbauer, set as the stage for this site. And then to fill the rest of the site with greenery, real landscape, real space, water, trees, and in the garage behind, the parking behind the church, create a backdrop which is all green. So setting an appropriate and permanent living landscape for the front facade of the church. And here you see that view. The church out front. The other buildings that are taller are, unfortunately, maybe a couple of too tall or bulky. There's a difference between being tall and being disproportionate. Something that is in the scale of a box, the Trump Tower or Trump Plaza, for example, that width, the height, and putting two right there together creates a wall. And it's a heaviness, and that is oppressive to some. And here, where you have a place for a church spire to rise into the sky and the rest to be low, I think is a better gateway entrance. You see that reflecting pool coming in to the garden, the office building, and its arrival place behind, and in the front of the office building is the lobby, of course, and the restaurant, which would be open to the public. I've gone too quickly over the slides there, but let me just say that I truly believe that if we continue working on this design in the time that we have available to us, we will be able to get to those details which you've been informed about make this building. And while it looks designed, it's got a long way to go to make it rich and full and welcoming and of the stature that not only the church deserves, but that West Palm Beach has. And as I say, it's been a project to work on it so far, and I look forward to telling you more about it and working with many of you to make it the very best. Thank you.